G'day guys, you're back with Miracle Max. Today, as part of a major service, I'm replacing a fuel filter on a Mazda 626 2002 model with a 2-litre engine in it. It was the last of the model before they went to a Mazda 6. What's involved in replacing the fuel filter? Let's head under the bonnet and have a look. First of all, we need to establish where the filter is actually located. Now, it's tucked away a little bit underneath the cruise control actuator as well as the carbon canister. Let's get onto Cam and see if we can find it. I'm coming in from the driver's side there, the driver's guard, past the inlet manifold, past the intake ducting. We're just going to cruise down in here, do a bit of a right turn there. You can see the auto-trans filler pipe or the filler tube there. And our filter is located around about there, I'm thinking. So that's the bloke there. So yeah, it's a little bit obscure, but we'll get to it from a different angle. The things I do for you guys. Look, the camera's upside down. I'm pretty much upside down, just so that we can get a visual on this fuel filter and its location. So really it's kind of round about there. That's where it is. And our carbon canister is going to be the first guy to be removed. Some of this stuff you don't have to remove, but I'm going to do it so you can see it easier. So carbon canister just simply lifts off a sort of a locator, and we give them a bit of a wiggle and a bit of a jiggle there. And as you can see on the back there, it's got some locators that fit over here. So I'll get that out the road, and I'll just tuck the carbon canister over there so it's right out the road. As I stated, we don't really need to remove the actuator assembly, but I'm going to do it just for ease of filming. So there's one little 10mm bolt here, or nut, and there's another 10mm nut over here, and I'll probably remove this connector and just hopefully shove it to one side. That should give us clear access to the filter, and to be quite honest, it's not going to take long to do, and it's probably worth doing it just to gain access to the filter. But you can, like I said, you can do it without removing it. So I'm going to start with this connector, and I've had a bit of a wiggle and a jiggle, didn't want to come off, so I'm going to bring in the heavy guns, just pushing down that little pin there. That should give us enough access to get it off. Got that out the road. Next, our two nuts need to come off. And I should be able to just fold that backwards to get it right out the road. Look at that perfect access to the filter now. For those of you who haven't replaced a fuel filter before, here's a little bit of extra safety that you could use. You could depressurize the system. Inside the fuel system, even with the ignition turned off, you will find what's called residual pressure. So there's a certain amount of pressure so that the car starts easier next time you go to start it. So we need to get rid of this pressure. Most times it's quite a low amount of pressure. It's just enough to get the car started before the fuel pump kicks in and tops up the missing pressure needed. In this case, we're going to depressurize the system, and how we're going to do that is I've got a wiring diagram up here, as you can see, my auto data one, and I've just typed in fuel pump relay, and it's highlighted for me here K20, which is our fuel pump relay. So let's have a look on the car and see where that is. So simply by removing the fuse box cover, we can see a relay that stands out as different. This is our main relay, not necessarily our fuel pump relay. I couldn't actually find it listed inside the cap here. I feel confident if we remove this particular relay, it's a main relay. That'll stop power to the fuel pump. Therefore, we won't get any pressure inside the fuel system. Let's just start it with it located and see how it goes. Yep, no probs. Let's remove it. So no doubt removing this relay will cut out a few more circuits, but I'm not concerned. I just want to lower the fuel pressure inside the fuel system. So let's see if we can start it now. There we go. So I'll leave that out for now. Generally I wouldn't worry about it because, you know, the pressure is quite minimal by comparison. Just for the sake of this video, I'll show you guys how to do a depressurization of the system. So we've got our relay removed. To remove the fuel filter itself, that guy there are a couple of nuts located in here. A little bit hard to see because I'm in the road. You can see one there, and there's another one just over there. So that'll get the entire bracket out the road. and that mightn't be too bad to get to. We should be able to get those out, and then of course we can get the top hose off, flip it over, and then get the bottom hose off as well. It's also not a bad idea to remove the fuel cap. Reason being is because sometimes it has pressure built up in it, and it's a good idea just to remove the cap to make sure that that pressure is gone. For emission reasons nowadays, the caps are sealed to stop any vapour going into atmosphere. And let's have a listen. Okay, so there's no pressure build up there. We can put our cap back on, and that will help hold vacuum or stop fluid from leaking out. But it's not a bad idea to release any pressure in the cap or the fuel system. Then that way it'll stop fuel leaking out as we remove the hoses. While the fuel filter is being held in place, I might just remove that top hose. It's going to be easier to remove while it's being held in place with that bracket. That's my theory, folks. Let's see if that's going to happen. Come on, clampage. I'm just using some multi-grips just to turn it. I'm not trying to grab it or anything. I'm simply trying to turn it, and that will come off our pipe a lot easier. You can see there's still a bit of pressure built up in there, so I just need to be careful that I don't get it anywhere. Slowly coming off. Oh, come on, Max Muscles. Don't let me down now. And we should expect a little bit of fuel to come out. There we go, no problemos. It's not a bad idea to actually block this to stop dirt entering, but also in case fuel leaks out. So a good fat Phillips head screwdriver should do the trick to stop any fuel coming out. Let's get these two nuts off here, then we can lift the bracket up. Just a little bit harder working around the camera. There we go. If we get those two out, we should be able to lift that bracket up and then access that bottom hose and pull it off. There we go. It's one off. Let's go for that second one, shall we? Here's our second one. Bracket comes up, and if we tip him over, we should be able to get to the hose at the bottom. Once I got my hands free of the camera, I was able to flip that filter over, and you can see that the hose is exactly the same as the top one. That little guy there, pull it back, pair of pliers, pull it back, wiggle on the hose, and that should come off. Then we can do it on the bench. Once you've got the filter out, I personally like to tip it out into a glass jar or a white piece of paper to see how dirty it actually was. Now, I'm not going to take it out of the outlet side, I'm going to take it out of the inlet side, which is pre-filter. All the stuff that was caught by the filter will come out through that pipe. So here we go, let's give that a shot. As long as I don't spill it everywhere, of course. There we go. Just give that a little time to dribble, and we'll have a look at the fuel itself. Oh, I can tell it was pretty dirty anyway. Pretty dirty, hey? So at least the filter was doing its job. It's taking out all the particles of horribleness. It's collecting all that dirt that would have went into the injectors had it not been for the sake of the filter itself. And if we just get another jar and do the opposite end, so in other words, coming out of the other end, if there's any left there is, that should be cleaner than the other side. It doesn't look that much cleaner, does it? So I'm glad that we've done that filter, because clearly there was particles getting through the filter itself. So this is the outlet side, and that is where it should be clean, in fact. But have a look at the colour. That's exactly what's going into our engine, and that's not a good thing. So definitely time to replace the filter. Before we go ahead and remove the filter from the bracket itself, I like to put a white texture mark just so that you can see where it lines up. Let's put a little mark just there, I'm thinking. So that is where our, what's that, our outlet, I believe, comes out, points this away. You can't really do that with the inlet, because there's nothing really to line it up with. I guess we could put one there, hey? So let's put it in the vise and undo it. That looks better. If we put it in the vise this way, we're able to gain access to that bolt there, and it shouldn't be too hard to undo. Let's get our undoing ratchety type thing, and we should be able to get that off quite easily, hey? Stick that to one side. Now, just be aware that the outlet down here, outlet, sorry, you'll need to squeeze it through that little gap there to get it out. And that's why it can be a bit confusing, because it goes around the other way when we're trying to fit it again. So let's put that to one side. Let's get our new fella, stick him in through there. And where's our lines? Oh, just keep in mind too that these filters have locators on them. There's one here, and there's one over here as well. So they will locate into these grooves here, here and here. You can see it on the outside there. We stick him in through there. In you go, fella. And then, if I remember rightly, we turn him around about, what was it? Let's see if I can find my little texture mark there. There he is. There's my little texture mark right there. So I'm in the right spot, and there should be a locator round about here. And can I see it? Can I see it? Yes, I can. Right, so it should go just like that. And I can put my bolt back in, and everyone will be almost happy. So we just wiggle him up and down there, make sure that that's in a good enough position. It's not getting caught anywhere. We tighten him up again. That'll have to sit below this area here, of course, otherwise you won't get the hose on. So we just tighten it up at that, and that will do it nicely. So if we undo it, we should have the little white mark there, which we do, and on the other side we should have that white mark there. So I suggest you put a white mark on there just so you know what you're doing. Let's put it back in the vehicle. For you keen-eyed viewers, you can see that it's got out written just there. Don't know if you can see it or can't see it. There we go, there's out. And of course on the other side you might have in. Nice. So in is the side that the fuel goes in, and of course out is the direction that it goes off to our engine. We need to put that inlet hose on first. That was the one that was a bit painful. So I'm going to rummage down there and see if I can find it. Sorry I couldn't keep you guys in focus at the time, but as you can see I've got my hose plus my clamp in place. Notice that I've pushed it right up against the ridge here. The hose, that goes right up against a little ridge, so you know that it's fully engaged and the clamp holds it in place. Let's flip this over and get this little guy into place. So we just need to slide it on those two studs, and with the hose pushed out the road a little bit, might give you a little more viewage. There's a stud there and a stud there. Those two nuts need to go on, and then we can hook on our top hose. Appropriately torque to 1 ugga-dugga. There we go. Easy peasy. We need to connect this hose here to the pipe over here. Not a big deal. Let's just get rid of that Phillips head screwdriver that we use to stop up the hole. Slides on, and you saw it went right up to that little barb assembly there, or the little bulge I guess you could say. I think the hose is a little bit swollen here, so I might have to pull the hose off, put the clamp up the front, open the clamp, push the hose on at the same time. Bit of a pain, but that may be what's necessary to get it on. There we have it. Oh, thank goodness for that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to put it back together, of course, but make sure there's no leaks. That's pretty important. So I'll probably wipe some of this spilt fuel up just so I can see if there's any leakage when I first start it up. Next, our cruise control actuator goes back into place, and that should just fit in onto those two studs there and there. Let's hope that fits. Get our wiring out of the road. That fits nicely there. Two nuts hold it in place. One here and one down the bottom here. Just tighten them up. And this one up here. Of course, don't forget our little wiring connector that needs to go back on. Wait for that little click sound. It's located correctly. Next thing, remember our carbon canister. That needs to get locked into those two little tangs down there. So the carbon canister should simply fit into this little locator over here. You can see on the back of it that it's got these plastic pieces, and that should just slide in from the top. Once you get the bottom two in, it should slide down and take the top two as well. There it goes, in place. Remember we pulled out that relay, that needs to go back into place as well. That was our main relay, goes in that way. Push him in, Then we grab our fuse box cover and we turn it sideways like this, and it fits over our fuse box itself. Got two little locators here and here. Push it down. Let's see if it starts and also if we have any fuel leaks. And as if by magic, it starts. Why did it take so long to start? Well, the thing is, the fuel filter was actually empty, wasn't it? So we needed to prime it or fill it up with fuel before fuel could go through to the engine. So yes, I'm happy that it starts. Does it leak? Yeah, I can't see any leaking there. That looks good to me. The inlet side, I can't see it wet down the bottom of the filter. So that appears to be pretty good. Bit of a successful job there. Excellent. Well guys, that's the end of the day and another job completed. A fuel filter on a Mazda 626 2002 model with a 2-litre engine in it. An inline filter they call it. I hope you got some benefit from this video, and you can stick it in your fuel filter playlists of course. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like and feel free to comment down below. Of course, don't forget about that notification bell. You don't want to miss any future videos. So it's getting pretty cold out here now guys, so I'm going to head inside. So until next time, this is Miracle Max signing off. I will catch you later.